What's happening, John? They are going to have big war scenes, it looks like. What was the premise from last year to this year?
Yeah, I think last year, they were just getting started with this series. It was a big risk for them, this fantasy series, kind of a departure for HBO. So they weren't quite sure if it was going to work necessarily, and it got a slow start, but gradually built momentum and really turned into a fan favorite. So their pitch for the first series or the first season was, we don't have to do any big Lord of the Rings clashes between armies. We can keep things relatively cheap, even though it's an expensive series. But as the storylines expand in season 2 and seasons beyond, the world's getting bigger, more complex, and these battles are looming.
And describe this world for people who don't watch the show or who don't subscribe to HBO. It's a fantasy world, but it's also very thoughtful. There's a lot of they dive deep into the characters and their backstories here.
I mean, picture sort of a medieval-looking place where people have suits of armor, and they're eating like lots of, food off the bone, that kind of thing. And there is a mystical element too, which you're going to see a lot more in season 2. There are some dragons and there's some sorcery and some dark forces out there. But it really does dwell on these human relationships. I think the big talk of the first season was the beheading of this main character who viewers had really grown fond of. And the talk of the second season, I think, is going to be kind of trying to keep track of all these various characters and storylines. You have, the Baratheons and the Targaryens and the Starks and all these different family dynasties that are sprawling out. So there's a lot to catch up on, but HBO is trying to give a lot of people opportunity to catch up on the series.
Is it risky for a series like Game of Thrones to ask for too much money, to have too many war scenes, because you might just price yourself out of the market?
Right. They have to be really, really smart with the way they spend money. I mean, this whole show is built on spectacle, so you have to really provide the spectacle, but to do that you have to spend the money to do it. And really, each season they build in the cost of the budgets, and each season they know it's going to get bigger and bigger, and hopefully the viewership will support that. So they really have to kind of make this balance between spectacle and the viewership that they can actually secure with these things. So it's a really fight. It's a tightrope they have to walk.